Hello, it's Haley from Starlight Cafe, and we're doing something a little different today. I'm actually going to be talking about a video game that is also kind of a show-esque, but it's still a video game, which is different from the usual movies and TV shows that I typically have done on this channel up to this point. And depending on how well this does, or just what my regulars on this channel want to see, I may do more video games, but for now, I just wanted to talk about something that I've had a really good time with, and I'm currently, at the time of recording this, I've already played the game myself 3 times, and I've watched Jacksepticeye's playthrough, Stormfall's playthrough, Tony Stadovici's playthrough. I'm sure there's a few others. Charlie Moist Critical's playthrough. Yeah, a lot. I've watched a lot of playthroughs. Of this game, on top of playing it myself, like I said, 3 times, and now I'm currently running 4 playthroughs at the same time, where I've got one playthrough where I cut Sonar and hired Waterboy, one where I cut Sonar and hired Phenomenon, one where I cut Coop, hired Waterboy, cut Coop, hired Phenomenon. So 4 different playthroughs that I'm all running at the same time because I'm a geek. Yep, that's what we're gonna go with. But anyway, yeah, so I clearly enjoyed this game a lot, and I just wanted to yap about it. I guess to give my usual non-spoiler summary for those who maybe are interested in the game and somehow came across my video of all things. Basically, you have this, it's a superhero type of show or game. I guess I'm just gonna call it a game. It's a superhero game. It's one of those, like, things happen and you choose how the character responds. That's half the gameplay loop, I would say. The other half is the dispatch sections, which is why the game is called Dispatch. But I'll get there. Let me give you the little summary first. Basically, a superhero who had a mech suit, and the mech suit was destroyed to the point where he could no longer use it, or so he thought. And he's made an offer by this agency who's like, okay, if you work dispatch for this team of ex-villains trying to be superheroes, then in exchange we will use our funding to help you get your suit back up and running so you can be a superhero again, because he doesn't have superpowers and most everybody else does. And that's why the game is called Dispatch, because the gameplay element, the non-story, like the non-telltale game type of story element, half of the gameplay is essentially you have your team of superheroes and they all have their strengths and weaknesses, and they can level up, and you can, improve their stats in whatever areas you choose, and you get prompts of like what to do, or like it'll be like a situation, right? So, oh, my cat's stuck in a tree, and you have to determine based off of your group of heroes, first of all, who's available, because you can't send somebody out on a mission who's already out on a mission, right? So there's resource management involved, and then everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses. So who's the best, based off of their skill sets, who's the best person or team of people to send out to get this cat unstuck from a tree? And that's actually, for me, the most addicting gameplay loop. And even when it comes to the story, now that I already know how the story goes, I don't always choose based off of like story elements. Sometimes I do in fact just choose based off of gameplay specifically, and there's one specific decision in particular where that's really the case for me, although I'm actually going to make the opposite decision for this 4 playthroughs that I'm running, but we'll get there. Okay, so I'm actually going to start with the the big storytelling choices first, I think, instead of talking about the characters like I typically do. Just because I want to get those out of the way. I think they're the more interesting conversation. So the first, at least according to my list here, the first big decision you come across that I think actually makes a difference is whether you cut Sonar or you cut Coop. Or Coupe, or whatever you want to call her. I call her Coop. So, a lot of people, it's different now that the game has been out and more people have played it, where it's a lot closer than it used to be, but in general, every time I check the stats after a playthrough, it's always the majority leaning towards keeping Sonar and cutting Coupe. And I think the reason that is because a lot of people just like Charlie, or Moist Critical, or Penguin Zero, whatever you want to call him. And I get it. I mean, Sonar, the character that he plays, is he's pretty funny to me, but if you do end up keeping Coop, you do get a similar level of funny from her, and like endearing and entertaining from her. Just, it's just the humor's a little different, but it's still funny. Really, this whole game is pretty funny, but if you're like me and you've played it 4, 5, 6, 7 times now, it does kind of lose its flavor after a while. Some things don't. Like, my favorite line is actually on episode 8, when oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I I never did the 3, 2, 1 after my non-spoiler summary. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully editing Haley goes and fixes that, or puts something on the screen for you, or maybe I'll splice this. Anyway, kinda like, some things stop being funny, but some of the lines that still do give me a chuckle now is on episode 8. This is my favorite line. On episode 8, when you start up the dispatch section, and Robert's talking about, okay, we need to do. You need to leave. Oh, that definitely picked up on the microphone. That's unfortunate. See, this is why I record at 2 a.m. I'm sorry, this is a side tangent. I don't even know if I'm going to keep this in the video, but that right there is why I was recording at 2 a.m. up until recently. Because, anyway. So yeah, Robert is talking about, okay, we need to get the team back, and then we need to, everything in the city is on fire, and Red Ring is everywhere. Like, there's all these different things that they've got to worry about. And Gollum, who is played by Young Gravy, by the way, if you guys didn't know that, Gollum is like, damn, dog, that's a lot of things. Yeah, it is a lot of things. Like, oh my god, this is just, he's so funny, man. He's just so, like, I don't know if this is the right word to use, but cute. Gollum is cute to me. And another line that doesn't seem to get old for me is, it's from Punch Up during the, it's after the meeting, when they're like, okay, whoever's in last today gets cut. And Coupe says, it's after everyone walks away, and Coupe is like, I really need this job. And Punch Up's like, what for, Coupe? We all know you'll just be working the roulette wheel. And Coupe goes, that's a croupier, you idiot. And this is my second favorite line in the whole season, is when Punch Up goes, the fuck's a croupier? All I'm trying to say is that you're a degenerate gambler. Those lines like those don't get old to me, because they're just, I don't know, dumb humor is my thing. And so yeah, there's back to the decisions though. Cutting Coop or cutting Sonar. Now I don't really know. I think there's pros and cons depending on who you keep from a gameplay perspective, because the thing with Sonar is his stats switch around. So like what I'm experimenting with in my current playthroughs that I'm working on, I like to take advantage of the synergy system. So if you don't understand the synergy system, each of your heroes has like they have extra synergy, or like they work well with or they pair up well with another hero, like a specific other hero, and when you send them on missions together, they level up. It's like a synergy meter, and the more you level up, it actually increases your chances on top of whatever your chances already were of succeeding on that mission. Up to, I believe that it's once you hit the max level, you get a 15% chance increase on top of whatever. So even if you hit, say, let's say you only have a 50% chance of success, now you've got a 75% chance of success. Now you've got a 75% chance of success. Now you've got a 75% chance of success, which is significantly better, right? So I try to take full advantage of that, and what I'll do is I'll try to make the teams kind of cover each other's bases. First of all, I make sure everybody has mobility, because it seems like almost all of the things require some level of mobility. So I don't want anybody weak in mobility. I want everybody at least at level 4 mobility. And then I've experimented in the past with one half being specializing in combat and vigor, and the other half intelligence and charisma. Now, with these playthroughs that I'm working on, what I'm doing is kind of just whoever of the 4 stats, whoever's... I do still specialize it to where one of them specializes in 2 and the other specializes in the other 2, and then both, get points in mobility. But now I go based off of, okay, who's going to get the higher... So say, for example, I believe with Golem and Invisigal, which is a synergy, you get... I think, if I remember correctly, Golem has a higher starting charisma than Invisigal, which means... so I specialize... So I gear him towards towards charisma and vigor, his 2 stronger suits, and then Invisigal gets the what are the other 2 that's missing? If it's not charisma, it's intellect and combat. And same with, so like Flambe, he specializes in combat, and then I give him points in vigor as well, because Prism, his counterpart, she has really high charisma to start with, and then I just give her more points in intellect, because they're both kind of dumb as rocks. But Flambe and Prism are my favorite synergy, because Prism has that ability where, so if you put somebody in the slot to her left, she'll duplicate them on her right, and at base level, that means it's basically like having a third person who has half the stats of the first person. But you can also improve that ability to where now it'll give them full stats. So it's like having 2 of that hero. So since I send Flambe all the time, basically what you've got is a stat board where the only thing they're really lacking is vigor, I think is what was lacking. I'd have to go back and look, but it's either vigor or intellect where they struggle. But they knock it out the park in charisma, combat, and mobility, which is like... And they usually hit that 85%, which with the 15% bonus means they almost always 100% succeed every mission that I send them on, which is great. They are my star team every playthrough, once I discovered the synergy system and understood how to use it. Which, real quick to touch on that, since I'm talking about it, just to give you guys a little pro tip, if maybe you haven't already found other videos that are much better resources than mine probably, your synergies are... The ones that never change are Invisigal and Golem, and Flambe and Prism. And then there's 2 sets that change. So Punch Up will pair with either Coupe, or if you cut Coupe, then he'll pair up with whichever of the two you hire to replace Coupe. And then the same with Malevola and Sonar. If you cut Sonar, Malevola will pair up with whoever you hire. And those two people you hire are either going to be Phenomenon or Waterboy, who also have their own strengths and weaknesses. Well, they both have their own significant weaknesses. It's not so much about the strengths in this case, but I guess I'll talk about that next. But I guess real quick to cut back to whether you cut Sonar or cut Coop. So something I'm experimenting with Sonar is, since his stats flip based on whether he's in bat form or in hybrid form, and Malevola starts off as an all-arounder, like her stats start off like kind of evenly spread for the most part. What I'm doing is I'm evenly spreading his stats out too, so they're both all-arounders, so that he performs about the same regardless of what form he's in. And I just have to keep him paired with Malevola, because when you cut Sonar, what happens is you have a significant loss in intelligence, because no other characters can really match up to his intelligence unless you gear points that specific type of way, which, based off of the method I do, that's not... It's not so easy, I guess, is the best way I'll put it. And then with Coupe's specialties are combat and mobility, I believe. So usually what I do is, with Punch Up has a really high starting vigor and a really high starting charisma, so I just focus her towards combat and intellect. I don't think she's got bad intellect either, but I don't have my stat sheet in front of me, and yes, I am that nerd, I have a stat sheet, but yeah, so it's just going to be based off of, preference, based on how you want to build your team, or just how you feel about it from a story perspective. And now I'll segue into picking Phenomenon or picking Waterboy. So here's the downside based on who you pick. Phenomenon gets that easily depressed status effect, which basically means anytime a call fails or you miss a call, regardless of if it's even the call he's on, he will just... You will just not have Phenomenon for 45 seconds, which is really frustrating. So you have to really go out of your way to make sure you don't fail or miss any calls. And that's his downside, but you can eventually get rid of that downside, and then it's all benefits. The only thing is, if you choose to do the option that gets rid of his easily depressed downside, then he has a significantly longer rest time, but it's still way less than 45 seconds. It's like 10-second rest time, which I'll take a 10-second rest time to not be out of the game for 45 seconds, as opposed to having a 2-second rest time, but, just randomly deciding to just say fuck it all for 45 seconds. So, But with Waterboy, his downside is, or his two major downsides. Oh, the other downside with Phenomenon, I'm sorry, is you can't change his stats. You might be able to give him like your random point bonus stat. I don't remember, or I've never attempted it even. But for the most part, you're locked into Phenomenon being very heavily geared towards combat, vigor, and mobility. Severely lacking in charisma and intellect. Severely. With Waterboy, the upside to him is he's pretty much a clean slate. You can gear his stats wherever you need him to specialize. But his downside is, so each character starts with, I want to say, 12 stat points distributed wherever they decide to distribute it, and it's preset that way from the beginning. However, with Waterboy, if I remember correctly, he only starts with 6 stat points, or 8 stat points total, or so. Basically, no matter how much you level him up, he is always going to be behind the ball overall from the rest of the team. Just flat. Always going to be, like, he's always going to have less stat points than them total. And, yeah, that's, to me, that's a pretty significant downside. But his flexibility is his upside in that sense. But then his built-in downside, like the thing that you can theoretically change, like in training, like where with Phenomenon you can get rid of his easily depressed thing. Waterboy's negative trait is that it's like eager sponge, where basically he'll volunteer himself for a mission and you only get to remove him from a mission once. So how you counter that, or how I've been able to counter it until you get rid of that status effect, if you even choose to, is just send him on missions as often as you can. Like missions where you know that he can do it, or like that he might add to it. I usually send him with somebody else, especially with the synergy system, because it actually like really assists you. And with Waterboy, because he's so flexible, I can just gear his stat points in whatever direction that the hero he's paired with lacks. So, for example, if you cut Sonar and you plan on hiring Waterboy, then Malevola, rather than keeping her an all-arounder, what you could do is gear her in whatever direction you think is best. I think I have her geared towards... I want to say I have her geared towards combat and vigor on my Waterboy side of things, but I'd have to, like I said, I'd have to pull the stat sheet out, but just for the sake of getting my point across. So rather than keeping her an all-arounder, if you know you're going to hire Waterboy ahead of time, or let me rephrase that, if you know you're going to cut Sonar, don't keep Malevola as an all-arounder. Specialize her, and then you want to specialize her based on who you're hiring, whether you're going to hire Phenomenon or Waterboy. If you're hiring Phenomenon, gear her towards where he's weak, and that would be, or if you're hiring Phenomenon, I gear her towards where Phenomenon is weak. So you put her points in intellect and charisma. Just put all her points there specifically. You could probably even neglect mobility points if you plan on sending her and Phenomenon on missions together. But if it's Waterboy, you can be a little more malleable. And I don't know how to have my stats gathered up, but I think I have her with the combat and vigor, and Waterboy with the intellect and the charisma, but I'd have to double check. So those are two of your major decisions, is cut Sonar or cut Coop, and hire Phenomenon or hire Waterboy. There are, I would say there are like 4 really truly big game affecting decisions you make in this game, and 2 of them I've already talked about. Your hire Phenomenon or Waterboy, and cut Coop or cut Sonar. But the other 2 are more story specific rather than dispatch specific, in the sense that they affect how your game ends. Like they put points towards that significantly, I think. So the first one I'll talk about is early in the game. I want to say at the end of episode 3 or 4. 4. It's episode 4. I just thought about it. You can either go to dinner with Blonde Blazer, or you can go to the movies with Invisigal. And personally, like now that I know how things end, I go dinner with Blonde Blazer every time. Because to me, Invisigal is kind of... I don't think Invisigal should be as old as she is. I think they should have aged her down and make this more of a mentor situation. And so that's just kind of how it plays in my head. So it's kind of weird to like have a romantic relationship with Invisigal. Either way, like, it's inappropriate from a workplace perspective, because it's either date your boss or date your subordinate. I can't think of a better way to phrase that, but you know what I mean. Like, it's inappropriate. But I think that's kind of the point, because it's supposed to be kind of a workplace comedy. Um, but I will say my very first like personal playthrough, I actually managed to get the ending where you didn't romance either of them, um, which I didn't even know was possible, but I was also kind of happy about because there's really negatives to dating either of them. Like they both have their flaws as people, quote unquote. I say quote unquote because obviously they're not real people, they're just characters made up for a video game. But that aside, right? Like if they were people, they would have their flaws. But I go dinner with Blonde Blazer every time because it just I don't know. I guess I just like Blonde Blazer more. I think Invisigal kind of is a jerk a lot of the time, a bully, and especially now, like with the scene where she uh like pushes you against the locker and kisses you, like that was uncool to me. That's very gross and kind of harassy, or maybe harassment's not really the word that I'm looking for here, but it's very bad. It's very unsavory. I don't like it. I lean out every time. Period. Um, because that was gross to me. And yeah. But anyway, Blonde Blazer's not really all that much better. To be fair, like she did basically. You're basically kind of like her rebound in a sense, kinda. Like she just got out of that relationship with Phenomenon, and y'all didn't necessarily kiss while she was still with Phenomenon, but like I mean she didn't. I don't know. I don't know. Just uh it's definitely one of those like very gray type of situations where it's like I don't know that this is okay. Like and then let's see. The other big decision I would say is towards the end. I want to say it's episode 7 when the team is kind of Invisigal got suspended because of what happened with the Chase situation, and the team is like basically it's like depending on your story choices, we'll just say it's a so basically, sorry, I just did the math, right? So you're talking best case scenario for Invisigal, you're talking a 4 people voting for her to leave, 2 people like indifferent, and 1 person wanting her to stay. So you basically gotta choose between defending Invisigal and permanently cutting the morale of your team, which you would think, based off of the pattern of the game so far, that doesn't really affect anything. But what it does is debuff your team's stats for the rest of the game, which is only 1 more mission, but it's also the hardest mission, and it whooped my butt on the playthrough where I defended Invisigal because I didn't really know how to distribute stats yet. Like I didn't know the right way. I was just kind of I think I just had everybody like dead even, like just perfectly balanced stats, which I don't know if that was really the way to go. I was also worse at dispatching than I am now, where I kind of know what the words mean a little more. But you can choose to defend Invisigal, or you can choose to cut her from the team, which in the end doesn't matter anyway because she ends up helping the team. But here's why it does matter. Throughout the game, the way you respond to Invisigal, and also how often you send her on missions, how often she succeeds or fails, and how much you level her up or don't level her up, all play a role in whether at the end of the game she chooses basically either a hero path or a villain path. And obviously, right, you want her to pick the hero path every time. I will say one of my playthroughs, it was I believe my third playthrough I ever did. I was going for like the most negative Robert I could get, because at the end it tells you either your Robert was a hero, an everyman, or what I now know is an anti-hero. But I thought it was going to be something like, I don't know exactly what I was looking for, but I guess I was looking for maybe like a bitter or aggressive Robert, and I ended up getting anti-hero with a villain Invisigal. But normally most people are going to want to go for like a hero Invisigal, right? Whether or not you want a romance her, you do want her to go hero, you don't want her to go villain. So defending her will probably put a lot of points in that, I'd imagine. I don't know the math exactly how it breaks down in the coding, but you definitely want to go in prepared. Be prepared to be fighting for your life if you choose to defend Invisigal. Every other time, like because of that, every time I've been confronted with that decision after the first time, I say screw this. I'm cutting her from the team. I'm okay being short one person, because you end up getting blonde blazer on your team at some point if you fuck up enough anyway, and that well makes up for Invisigal. I mean, blonde blazer's stats are like the same as having like two people. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you're going to choose to defend Invisigal because it seems more narratively correct, which even that like is not necessarily, like, you could make arguments either way. Be prepared to fight for your life. So those are like the big major decisions to me. There are some other decisions that are like, they're kind of big, but like you can make the argument that telling the team you're either your Mecha Man or telling them you're Robert. But the only thing that really affects is Flambe. You either have Flambe for the next mission or you don't, and either way Flambe shows up late to the party. Either way Flambe is going to end up back on the team. It's just a matter of whether you have him for that next mission or not. So it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. So I always tell the team that I'm Mecha Man. I think I told the team I was Robert in my, no, I didn't even tell the team that I was Robert for my aggressive anti-hero one. So yeah, I think it's just, I think every time I have said that I'm Mecha Man. So those are, you can make the argument for that, but otherwise it's pretty much those four decisions that I was just talking about. So do you go to dinner with Blonde Blazer, or do you go to the movies with Invisigal? Do you cut Coop, or do you cut Sonar? Do you hire Phenomenon, or do you hire Waterboy? Do you defend Invisigal, or do you cut Invisigal? Those are like the big four decisions. And then I already talked about, the dispatch sections are my favorite part. I find them kind of addicting because I don't know, I think I just make stats big, get 100%. I do try to get the best possible percentile every shift, and I'm currently comparing my runs on my simultaneous 4 runs to see where I do the best with which teams. If I understand it correctly, you want to go for it saying oh, you performed better than 90% of players, that will put you in the top 10% of all players, right? I don't think you can get any higher than, because I think it measures in increments of 10%, or at least as far as what it will tell you. So I can't imagine that it'll say, oh, you performed better than 99% of players, because I think it just says, oh, better than 90%, right? Or better than 100%, but I don't know if anybody's ever gotten that. That puts you number 1, I think. And then the story, I think the story is fine. There are some aspects of the story that I think they could have done better with, or done more with. I feel like the story could have been more centered around the team, but it's more, in reality, it's more about Robert. And even with Robert, it really focuses more on his mentorship, or lack thereof, of Invisigal, and his relationship, or lack thereof, with Blonde Blazer. And basically, like, Robert's ability to mentor and to, like, change people's lives for the better through, like, the advice he gives. But I think more focus could have been given to the team and more stakes focused on the team. But at the end of the day, everything is centered around Robert and Invisigal. And that's fine. You know, I mean, it's obviously, it's a good story. Like, again, played this game 4, 5, 6, and 7 times. Watched like 4 or 5 playthroughs of it. So it's not like I don't enjoy it, you know. These are just things I think they could have improved upon. Another thing they could have improved upon is their villain was very lackluster. Shroud, I feel like that name fits him only because he's Shroud in mystery for most of the series. You only really come to understand him in any form or fashion on the last episode, and his motivation doesn't really make sense, because if he made the Astral Pulse, why does he need Robert's Astral Pulse when he can just make another one? I mean, he powered that big mech. What does he need the Astral Pulse for? And then what? So he plugs it into his head. But if all he's doing is plugging it into his head, couldn't you have just made one to plug into his head? Because he clearly knows how to make it, because he's the one who made the first one, right? Am I understanding that correctly, or am I misunderstanding something? So, you know, feel free to correct me in the comments if you know something I don't, because I don't claim to know everything about Dispatch. I'm no expert. I am just somebody who has played the game a few times, and I don't pay attention to the cutscenes anymore because I've seen it enough times already. So, and also Shroud is, like, kind of lame. Like, I think his ability in theory is cool. And I get, like, the weakness of it is you want to put him in situations where the probabilities are more skewed. So, like, when you give him both Astral Pulses, like, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, 50-50, that is, like, it could go either way, right? So that's, like, his worst case scenario for him, because he, you know, in theory, he operates based off of what is more likely. So the way to counter him is to either do the thing that is less likely, which inherently he would be predicting that he would do the thing that he finds less likely, which would make it more likely, or you put him in those 50-50 scenarios where it's like, they could do this, but they could do that, and either way, like, either is likely possible, like, just as likely. So you're basically his weakness is a coin toss. Which is both theoretically cool and theoretically lame at the same time. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, it is literally a glass half full, glass half empty way of, like, it just depends on how you personally feel about it, I guess. It really is so in the middle in every single way. And Robert's great. Robert is great. I mean, he just makes sense the whole way through. Like, he's the most, I feel like, the most logical person in the story. The only characters I haven't really gotten to talk about yet. Let's talk about the team, and let's talk about the characters. So Robert is cool. Blonde Blazer is cool aesthetically, and I don't really know what her powers are, but she's kind of gives off like she's basically the Superman of her universe, and in that sense she's pretty cool. Chase / Trackstar, he's pretty cool. I'm not the biggest fan of characters that are like super vulgar like that, and but like also the whole show, or game, or whatever you want to call it, is like that. So, like, every character is kind of like that. It's very adult. So it kind of almost fits. I almost care less because of it. Um, but he's cool, and I think, I will say, I think it would have served the story better if he died in episode 6, because it makes it a lot easier to defend Invisigal, knowing, like, after the fact, like, any future playthroughs, it makes it easier to defend Invisigal, because it's like, we know he didn't die, or, like, basically it didn't matter. Nothing mattered because he ended up being fine, basically. And I could eat my words if they come out with a second season of Dispatch and something happens to the amulet before they can find a cure and he dies. Whatever. But for the sake of, we're talking about season 1 here, it really does, like, cheapen it really does cheapen a lot of the ship or container thing scene from episode 6, from episode 6. So, yeah. As far as the team goes, I like Malevola. A lot of people like Malevola. But I will say, I didn't like I didn't really think about it at the time when I first seen it. But after I saw somebody pointed it out online, that she was kind of, like, harassing Robert a little bit during before the house party scene, and that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth once I, like, really, like, sat and thought about it. But compared to some of the shit that, like, Invisigal does, I can kind of let it go, or like brush it to like you almost, in a weird way, you kind of just suspend your, no, I don't know how to describe it. Like, it was definitely, like, crazy, but, like, also very on brand for the show, game, whatever you want to call it, you know? Then Sonar, I like Sonar. Sonar's funny to me. He's basically if Charlie was a Dispatch character, and I know that's because it is Charlie playing the Dispatch character, but I mean, like, and I don't know, maybe it's because Charlie's the one voice acting him, but you kind of associate the two with each other, like they're synonymous. Not to say that Charlie is a, like, you know, a criminal, or, like, investment fraud, tax fraud, whatever. I don't remember what Sonar's exact crimes were, but, you know, basically, like, money crimes. I'm not saying that that's Charlie, but just, like, from a character perspective, I feel like that you kind of associate Sonar with Charlie, and you associate Charlie with Sonar. But I don't have that same opinion about Punch Up, who was voiced by Jacksepticeye. Where the only thing I feel like they share is that they're both Irish. Punch Up is, you know, he's just kind of dumb. He's just a dumb, sweet, I don't know if I would call him sweet. I call Golem sweet. But he's just kind of a dumb guy, you know? But also strong. And I do like his interactions with other characters, because he just says shit that it's like, what? I can't believe what I'm hearing right now. Like the tooth on ice reattaching thing, or, like I said, the degenerate gambler statement. Coupe, I feel like, is, like, she has her funny moments, like the thing where she's trying to, like, watch her show, and she's mad that the power is out. Like, I like that. I don't like that it doesn't really matter whether you cut Coop or cut Sonar, like, because they do the same things and have the same scenes, basically, just dependent on who you cut. I do like Flambe more and more every time I play. I think maybe there's some bias because Flambe Prism combo is great in the dispatch sections, which makes me like them more. But like, Flambe is kind of funny the more I play. And like conceptually, his powers are cool. Prism, same thing. I think her powers are conceptually cool, and I really like how she plays. But character-wise, she's just kind of like, they're both kind of like, I don't want to say jerks. Well, Flambe, yeah, a jerk. But Prism, she's just kind of really aggressive, I guess would be the best way to describe her, but also super respectful to people that she respects. So, I don't know. Prism's kind of like, she's in the middle as far as how much I like characters. I already talked about Invisigal, but I guess I'll just retouch on her a little bit. I don't really like her, but I do like her arc if you go the hero route, and I like her more as like a young adult / older teen, like being mentored, and they're just kind of angsty and like misguided on like how to do things, and they don't really know how to be good. Like from that aspect, I like that you're like kind of helping her grow into be a better person and be a better hero. And then there's Gollum, who is just a big, dumb, sweet man. And I love Gollum. Gollum is probably my favorite character from the Z team. And also he's voiced by Young Gravy. And I'm not like a super Young Gravy fan, but he's got some songs that I like. And then we've got Phenomenon. I really like Phenomenon. I think he's very endearing. Because he means well. He's just kind of a rock. He's got like rocks for brains, And I kind of like that. I kind of dig it. And I think it's funny to kiss Blonde Blazer and then tell him that you kissed Blonde Blazer. And then the first time I saw that scene, I really did think that was like a death option. Like if you told him that, then you would die because he would vaporize you. And it's sad that they didn't go that route. But him picking you up and kissing you is, in the real world, like, would have been awful. But I can suspend that for this because in this context it's funny. It's just cartoonishly funny. And then we have Waterboy, and Waterboy's okay. He's endearing, but also he's kind of annoying. Not like people with stutters are annoying, but in his particular instance where he'll take back what he said just to say the same thing a different way. And also just his powers are kind of like gross. Like just everything is wet, and like it's taken to such an extreme where it's like, his poops are wet. His clothes are just always soaked, and he vomits water. It's not like he can just, I don't know. It's like, this is gross. He just be vomiting on everything. But like, he's endearing. He's a sweet guy. He just wants to help. So it's not like he's like bad. Like I don't dislike him. It's just there's things about him that I don't like. And then the characters that I guess are not on the team per se, but they're like kind of on the team. Royd. Everybody loves Royd. I'd like to know a person who doesn't like Royd. And are you being a contrarian or are you being honest? Because Royd is, he's everything. I mean, he's smart. He's strong. He's a nice guy, a really nice guy. And he's got good lines. And, he's just always trying to help. He's just trying to be a good guy, man. And then there's Galen. And if you don't know who Galen is, you do. You just don't. Galen is the guy that they say is from Florida, and he's got super hearing, and he's basically like, I don't want to say he's like your IT guy, but he's kind of like your, this is how this tool works, this is what you do in these situations. Like, he's that guy. And he's fine. I do like that scene where you do the fist bump with Royd, and he's fist bumping like from a distance, but I don't think they notice, and so he's just kind of sad. I like to think that he's just sad that he didn't get to be part of the fist bump. So overall, what do I think of Dispatch? I think it's a really fun game. how much replayability it has, I would say, is dependent on how much you like the dispatch sections, because the story, I would say, really, you could probably see everything that you need or that you want to see, or everything that there is worth seeing off of 2 playthroughs, and just pick the answers you like for one set of playthrough, or one playthrough, and the answers you don't like for the other playthrough, and there you go, you've seen everything that you want to see. Because most of the options, or really all the options where there's 3 different things to pick from, like, it's all gonna lead to the same conclusion, it's just from a different angle. So, not really important. And everything comes down to basically, every decision you make in the story basically comes down to how your game ends. So the decisions that matter only matter if it depends on, like, okay, what ending are you trying to get? Are you trying to get good Robert, everyman Robert, or anti-hero Robert? Are you trying to get a romance ending with Blonde Blazer or Invisigal, or are you trying to get romance neither, or are you trying to romance both? And then if it's not those, then the decisions are just entirely affected your dispatch sections. But your dispatch sections don't affect anything except Invisigal's performance. That's the only thing where the dispatch section affects the story that I'm aware of. So yeah, if you like the dispatch sections, I would say there's a lot of replayability. You just have to suffer through so much cutscene that just isn't worth watching over and over and over and over. And overall, it's a really fun game, and it's definitely worth the $30, in my personal opinion. I think it's $30. It's either $20 or $30. It's definitely worth it, in my opinion. And if not, if like you disagree, if it's not your cup of tea, you know, it never hurts to pick it up if it's on sale. Bare minimum, it'll take up 8 hours of your time. For me, it's taken up much more than 8 hours, but bare minimum, 1 playthrough will get you through a Saturday with nothing to do. I promise you. And that's really all I have to say about Dispatch. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, the decisions you made, how you feel about some of the characters, how you feel about the dispatch sections. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you just want to watch the story without the dispatch stuff? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you want more video game reviews on top of my movie and TV reviews. And maybe I'll do that, maybe I won't. And I'm trying to work on some other stuff that's not just reviews in the farther future. I don't know how far out or how soon. But stick around for that, I guess, if you want to, or just keep watching the reviews. Either way, I'll be here, even if there's nobody here. Thank you for sticking around if you made it this far. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.